The Apple TV 4K, not to be confused with the Apple TV Plus streaming service, also offered by Apple, is Apple's little black streaming box with an iPhone chip inside. There's so many great features that are just cram-packed into this tiny thing, and I feel like it's so underrated. So let's talk about it. Okay, first, why would someone want a streaming box over using their TV's built-in operating system? I mean, all the main players and their smart TVs between LG, Samsung, and Sony all have built-in operating systems and app support. I can't speak about Sony because I don't have a Sony TV in my home currently, but both Samsung and LG have these stuttery, unintuitive, ad-filled interfaces with only the most popular streaming apps and interesting third-party games. I'm not a fan. You could also use a video game console like a PS5 or Xbox Series S or Xbox Series X, but those are much more power hungry, heating up the room they're in, and are more expensive than getting streaming boxes. So if you decide to add a bunch of those into your home, it'll get expensive pretty quick. So that's where streaming boxes are really nice. They're cheaper, quieter, and aren't giant tower fans or fridges in the middle of the room. My two absolute favorite streaming boxes are between the Apple TV and Chromecast with Google TV, both for different reasons. I've already talked about the Google TV in a now ancient video, but this is a great budget option with a lot of versatility that satisfies a lot of different people's use cases. But that was that video. This video will be talking more about the Apple TV. As a streaming device, it's a little bit more expensive than a lot of options out there. It's also a lot more powerful than your average streaming box with an A15 chip inside. So it's got the power of an iPhone 13 crammed into this tiny little black box dedicated to just streaming and playing casual games. It's so much more than just a streaming box. If you have the 128GB version, it comes with an Ethernet port, and this opens the Apple TV up to be an Apple Home Hub. When there's an Apple HomeKit Hub device in your home, like an Apple TV or a HomePod, you can control HomeKit devices away from your house and set up automations surrounding these different HomeKit enabled devices. So I like this because if I want to, I can view my cameras around the house from my TV or get a notification when someone rings the door so I can see if it's a package or a door-to-door salesman. I can tell Siri to dim the lights, close the blinds, and pretty much whatever smart home function I want to do. If you're a fan of this channel, you know that I'm a pretty big smart home guy. So having this functionality whenever I need it comes in clutch, especially when I'm just laying in bed, watching TV, and just don't want to move out of my bed once I got comfortable. I do wish that there was a way to view all of my HomeKit devices, similar to how iPadOS and iOS has the Home app. That way I can see the status of all of my home devices, as well as toggle them on or off. Like, what if I forgot to turn off the light in a different room? It'd be nice to know while I'm somewhere else that that light is on or off so that I know to toggle the switch within a dedicated home app. All right, the Apple TV is designed to be minimal and is a smart device, but maybe there's other things in your life that you use often that should also be smart or use a nice and premium design. Like today's sponsor, Lifen and their Wave toothbrush. If you're like me, you want to have the best experience from all the tech items in your home, even when that tech is something that you use every day to clean your teeth. And that's where the Lifen Wave comes in. The Lifen Wave feels like a tech product with plastic, aluminum, and stainless steel options. This particular one is made out of a single piece of aluminum, and it charges magnetically with this charging cable, and a full charge can last you over a month. It's IPX7 rated and has a pressure sensitive button edged into its seamless design. That way, debris can't get into that tiny little gap between the buttons and the chassis like on other electric toothbrushes. It's a lot easier to clean the Lifen that way too. A lot of electronic toothbrushes aren't powerful enough to deeply clean your teeth, have pricey replacement heads, and they don't have the customizability to get your teeth cleaned the exact way you want it. With the Lifen Wave, you don't have to worry about struggling with deep cleaning because their 60-degree oscillating and vibrating toothbrush head can give you 3 times higher cleaning frequency without needing to move your wrist up and down to get a wider area of cleaning. Let me show you. It's easy on the gums with soft tapered bristles and cleans all areas of the mouth without the harshness of some of those other toothbrush brands. I also love that I'm able to customize everything through the app to get the setting just right. You can control everything from the vibration strength, oscillation range, and oscillation speed to get that perfect clean. There's even a toggle that you can turn on to make the toothbrush remind you every 30 seconds to switch positions. This thing is strong, especially when compared to other toothbrushes, including my Sonicare brush. The Lifen Wave cleans better and gets deeper, especially around the gum area. All right, all that is great and all, but one of the main expenses related to electric toothbrushes are the toothbrush heads. Well, luckily, the Life and Wave has affordable brush heads with a pack of 6 going for just $17. There's also 3 different brush head types so that you're able to further customize the cleaning experience specifically for your own needs. So if you want better, cleaner teeth and are interested in the Life and Wave and want 20% off during Prime Day, check out the link in the video description down below. Now, back to the video. The most notable difference between the Apple TV and the UIs built directly into your smart TV is that the general UI usage is butter smooth. Like, there's no comparison. Things load quickly with minimal issues. Doing basically anything on the Apple TV feels responsive, and I don't think I've experienced many slowdowns using this thing unless you just scroll super fast and the Wi-Fi can't keep up with pulling in the data on time. That's the only time. And you might think at that point, well, Jimmy, of course it is. You have the 3rd generation of the Apple TV 4K. But I actually have all 3 generations of the Apple TV 4K. And let me tell you, the first one still works just fine. And it's great that 7 years later, the first generation is still viable and pretty snappy in most apps. There are some situations where that one hitches, but for the most part, it is smooth. To me, that at least gives me the peace of mind that these newer ones will be supported and snappy for a long time. Now, the worst part about TVs have got to be remotes. The good news is that the Siri remote that comes with the Apple TV is pretty decent overall, with clicky buttons, USB-C port for charging, and built-in Find My functionality. So you can search for the remote with your iPhone. If you don't like the remote, you can also pair third-party remotes to it and use those instead. You can also control the Apple TV from your iPhone. The Apple TV feels like an extension of your iPhone because a lot of the things that we find annoying about streaming devices are fixed thanks to the integration between the iPhone and the Apple TV. Want to purchase something on the App Store? Instead of typing in a password, use your phone's Face or Touch ID. Don't want to manually type in the search bar using the terrible Apple TV keyboard? You can type it up on your phone instead. Don't want to walk over to the other side of the bed to grab the remote off your significant other's nightstand because they're sleeping and you don't want to disturb them because, they've had a rough week and you don't want to contribute to it? You can control the Apple TV right from your phone. Want to watch something loud, but your significant other is asleep and, she had that bad week and, you really don't want to stress her out? You can pop in some AirPods and route the audio coming from the Apple TV directly to your AirPods so that people around you, including your spouse, doesn't have to hear you watch your spicy dramas or Fast and Furious 32. But being an extension of the iPhone and the Apple ecosystem has some major downsides too. The features I just said, maybe in a little too much detail, are exclusively iOS. You don't get access to the features if you own an Android device and you're forced to use this terrible keyboard interface on the Apple TV, and you can't cast from it because Android devices don't have native AirPlay. There are ways around these issues, but natively these functions just aren't baked into the system. All right, so one of the biggest benefits and negatives of the Apple TV is the App Store. Obviously, this device syncs with your Apple account, giving you access to all the music, movies, and apps you've purchased with your Apple account, but it also lets you download tvOS versions of your favorite apps and streaming services that just aren't available on the default TV UI. For example, I watch a decent amount of anime, and while everyone knows Crunchyroll is the largest and typically the go-to for most anime, there's also a streaming service called HiDive, which is a little bit more niche, but has some shows that Crunchyroll doesn't have. And on Samsung and LG's smart TVs, there's no app for it, with really only mobile, tablet, game console, and streaming device support. So a streaming box gives you more flexibility there. But the same can't be said about non-streaming apps on the Apple TV. Besides some of the good mobile game titles available on Apple TV that are already available on other platforms, the Apple TV has a very weak library of apps. So I don't recommend that you get this specifically if you were trying to use it for its great app support, which is tragic because I could see a really cool use for it, like a dashboard view of your home, upcoming appointments on your calendar, whatever. That would be so nice and is such a huge missed opportunity. All right, back to the mobile games. Quite a few of them support game controllers, like from an Xbox or PlayStation, and you can't access these directly on the control center. Combined with some of the changes in Apple's stance on emulators, you can play some games on your TV almost like a game console, except most of the games available on the Apple TV are more simple games, and there's no native Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Remote Play, or even PlayStation Remote Play, so you can't use it as a remote gaming console either. There is a Steam Link app though, so you are able to remote into your PC for games games you have on Steam, but games with launchers or ones that require text input really throw it for a loop. So realistically, the Apple TV isn't great for gaming in the traditional console or PC kind of way, but it's fine for the mobile kind of gaming. Obviously, with your TV, you won't always be the person watching it. Sometimes you will have guests over. Basically, I wish that there was a guest mode. That way you're able to place it in a guest room or a living room without giving guests access to everything the Apple TV can normally do, including access to all of your stuff. There is a feature that allows you to set up restrictions that require a passcode to access certain apps, movies, music, and games. But that seems like it's more beneficial for parental controls than for guests to easily use your TV. When you're expecting guests, I suggest keeping like a cheap streaming stick like a Chromecast with Google TV so that they can just cast to it instead of rummaging through all of your personal stuff on the Apple TV. A lot of modern smart TVs by default even support casting, so maybe you don't even need to have something specifically for guests. All depends on your own personal situation. So at this point, I think it's conclusion time. I really enjoy the Apple TV, and it's been a part of my household for quite a long time now. There are some flaws with it, like weak Android device integration, terrible keyboard UI, and relatively high price tag for a streaming device. But there are also some amazing features that I wish all streaming devices had, like Find My functionality for the remote, a snappy UI, and acting as an Apple Home Hub for your smart home stuff. As a standalone streaming device, it's good and it stands on its own, but it is a little bit pricey for what you're getting. As an integrated part of an Apple ecosystem-focused home, it's great, if not underrated, and makes streaming content an enjoyable experience. But if you're not looking to play games, or if you're not super ingrained in the Apple ecosystem, a Chromecast with Google TV might be a good option too, at least when they upgrade it, because it hasn't been upgraded in a long time, and that device is starting to show its age. It's pretty laggy. If you're personally looking for a great streaming box with no BS ads on the front screen in an easy to use package, I'd start right here. It's what I personally use because of how snappy and simple it is, and I just can't recommend it enough. Anyway, what do you personally think? What kind of streaming device do you personally use? Or do you stick with the default UI that's built into your TV? Do you own an Apple TV? Are there any things that you use it for that I didn't mention in this video? Have you found a good dashboard app for the Apple TV? I'm still looking for one. I don't think one exists at this point, but please let me know. Leave all that down in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.